Hey guys, today we are in the garage and we are installing the Ridetech HQ Series coilovers. These fit models 2015 to 2024 Mustangs. These HQ Series coilovers come with Fox factory shock internals and it will give you a 1.5 to 2.5 inch drop on your vehicle. These coilovers are extremely adjustable, so you can switch up between everyday street driving or if you want to take it out to the track. All right, let's go get these on the car. So we are going to remove the upper shock bolt. And once all the bolts are removed, then you can remove the shock. Okay, now I'm going in with my 18mm wrench and my 6mm Allen socket, and we're going to be threading the bolt from the back. So we're going to be actually tightening it and push it out the back. So I'm using the two-hand method, which is for seasoned pros. Okay, then you're gonna disconnect and remove your rear sway bar end link. Okay, now we're gonna remove a couple bolts so we can get the spring out. There we go. So now we are taking the upper shock mount. You're going to want to push it up as high as you can and then go ahead and screw that in. So now we are going to be drilling into these two holes with a pilot bit and then use the included drill bit that they sent with the kit. So this tool comes with the kit, and basically you'll screw it on the back end here. You're going to insert it into the hole. So these are in there now, and you want to tighten it until it stops moving. Basically what you're doing with that tool is securing the rib nut to the chassis. Now you're going to bolt the lower shock mount into the lower control arm. And now you're going to torque the bolts to 25 foot-pounds. So we're putting the upper shock mount back on, and we're using the factory bolts up top. And you'll use the supplied bolts for the bottom rib nuts that we drilled. Now you're going to torque these top bolts to 65 foot-pounds. Now you're going to torque the lower ones to 25 foot-pounds. So now we are assembling the rear coilover. So I have all these parts in front of me and I'm going to walk you through step by step how to do this. So first you're going to turn this knob all 24 clicks in. Now you're going to take a T10 Torx and unscrew the screw. Taking red and tacky number 2, you're going to want to grease your shock. To not make a mess, you can take an old glove and you can smear it all over. First we put the lock collar on, and now we're putting the Delrin bushing on. We're going to put our spring on. Next up is the second Delrin bushing. Going to put it right on the top there. The reason we took off this side plastic piece is because this wouldn't fit over unless you do take that off. It does make it a little bit easier if you pull that piece down. So then you're going to want to take this ring and go around the bottom, and then you're going to want to clip it into this piece right here. Now we'll push that back up. Now we're going to take the coilover and we're going to tighten this bottom piece until it pushes up the top hat. All right, so just tighten this down until you don't have any play left. Now we're going to remove the little spacer. Now we're going to put the bolt in. And just tighten that bolt until it's hand tight. We'll adjust it later on the car. Don't forget to reinstall your adjustment cap. And now we're going to go in with the spacers. You're going to do one on each side. Once you get the bolt in the bottom of the coilover, you're going to want to lift up the suspension so you can get the top bolt in. Now we're going to be installing the washers and nuts. Now you're going to tighten these bolts up. Now we're going to torque them down to 75 foot-pounds. This kit requires you to move the sway bar back a little bit. So it comes with these brackets so you can change out the position of the sway bar. You're going to want to remove the factory bolts, but keep those around because we're going to use them to reinstall the bracket. And then it comes with 2 pieces of hardware for you to reinstall the sway bar mount. So now we are reinstalling the sway bar end link and the factory lower control arm bolt. Now that we got the back done, it's time for the front. Once you have your caliper bolts out, you can take the caliper and you can tuck it back in this little hole here. Next up, you're going to want to remove the sway bar link off the strut. After you remove the top of the sway bar, then you'll pop off these 2 clips. Next up, we're going to remove the strut bolts. You're not going to want to remove the nuts all the way because you're going to need to hammer out these bolts. They're not. Okay. Next up, we're under the hood removing these 2 nuts, and we're going to get this one just loosened up so the strut doesn't drop out of the bottom. Now it's time to install the coilover, and we're going to install the camber plates with it as well. So you're going to want to take this piece and it goes underneath, and this piece will go on top just like this. Once you put the coilover in, it is helpful to have a set of hands to help you guide it up. Then you'll put the 4 bolts on top, but don't tighten them down all the way. So this is how you tailor the coilover to either be set up for street mode or track mode. Right now we have it set up for street, where the thicker part of the ring is facing the Ridetech logo. With this, you get a 1/4 positive to 2.5 degrees negative camber adjustment. This is shown in track mode, where the thicker part of the ring is facing away from the Ridetech logo. This will give you 1 to 4.25 degrees of negative camber adjustment. So now you want to do the bottom bolt first. And now it's time to hammer in these bolts. Now it's time to put on the strut nuts. Now it's time to torque down the nuts at 184 foot-pounds of torque.
Oh yeah!
Got it. Once you've reinstalled your sway bar end link, your rotor, and caliper, you'll torque it down to factory spec, and then you can go and have some fun. One thing to remember is you do want to get this car aligned afterwards. Anytime you mess with suspension, you are going to need a new alignment. Now that we've upgraded our suspension to the Ridetech HQ Series coilovers, we're going to continue to improve our suspension setup with the Ridetech sway bars. Remove both sway bar end links. To get access to the sway bar mount bolts, you will have to remove your air intake boxes. Now it's time to reinstall the sway bar end links. If you look in here, there will be two holes. One is a softer setting and one is a stiffer setting. And now it's time for the rear sway bar. Next, we're onto the sway bar mount bolts. Ours looks a little bit different because we have the extension brackets from the Ridetech Coilover install. Now we're going to put our sway bar end link in the middle hole and attach our brake line. It will not sit flush, so it's best to modify this tab here so it can sit fully flat on the sway bar. And the last step is to install the locking collars. You'll want to do one on each side of the inner side of the sway bar mount. This thing feels so much lower to the ground and it looks so much cooler, in my opinion. And I mean, we're not even maxed out on the lowest setting, so there's even more room to go lower, which to me, on this car, I don't really need that because this is just a street build for fun. But I think you could probably set the car on the ground with these coilovers. It also has so much adjustability, so for daily driving, I've got it set kind of in the medium point on hard and soft. But if I really want to go hit some turns or kind of take some back roads, I can set it to full hard and really get that more aggressive steering wheel feel.